There comes a moment when staying hurts more than leaving, a moment when you realize that holding onto him isn't love anymore, it's self-betrayal, and that's when you have to decide, do I keep waiting for scraps, or do I exit his life like he never existed? No drama, no regret, no second chances. Because the real power isn't in making him see your worth, it's in walking away so completely he's left wondering if he ever mattered at all. Walking away from someone you cared about can feel like failure. It can feel like you're giving up, like you couldn't make it work, like you've lost something important. But the truth is, walking away isn't losing, it's choosing. It's not about quitting on love. It's about refusing to keep investing in someone who doesn't value what you bring to the table. It's the most powerful declaration of self-respect you can make, because it says, I choose me, even if it means letting go of you. The world often tells us that love is about holding on no matter what, fighting for the relationship, proving our loyalty even when things get hard. And yes, love requires effort. But there's a difference between effort and sacrifice that destroys your self-worth. Staying in something that makes you feel small, unseen, or unappreciated isn't noble, it's harmful. Walking away in that moment isn't weakness, it's strength. It's looking at the situation with clarity and saying, this isn't love anymore, and I won't keep pretending it is. The choice to leave isn't about him at all. It's about you deciding you deserve more than half-hearted attention, mixed signals, or conditional affection. It's about drawing a line in the sand and refusing to cross it, even if your heart still aches. That's where true power lies, in the ability to feel the pull to stay but still walk away because you know your worth is greater than his effort. That's not losing. That's choosing to protect your peace, your energy, and your future. When you frame walking away as loss, you hold on to regret. You start replaying moments, wondering if you should have tried harder, waited longer, given more. But when you frame it as choice, regret doesn't get to live there. Because choice says, I didn't leave because I couldn't stay, I left because I refused to. That's an active decision, not a passive one. It's you steering your own ship, not letting someone else decide the direction of your life. Think about it. When you walk away from a burning building, are you losing something or are you saving yourself? You may be leaving behind memories, familiar walls, and comfort, but you're also choosing survival. Relationships that chip away at your value are no different. By exiting them, you're not abandoning love. You're rescuing yourself from a version of love that was never truly love in the first place. There's also freedom in choosing. Walking away creates space for healing, for rediscovering yourself, for reconnecting with the passions and people you may have neglected. It opens up the possibility of a relationship that doesn't drain you but fills you. If you see walking away as losing, you'll stay stuck mourning what's gone. But if you see it as choosing, you'll start looking forward to what's next, and that shift in perspective changes everything. So the next time you feel guilt for leaving, remind yourself, you didn't lose him, you released him. You didn't give up, you chose better. You chose to stop waiting for potential and start demanding reality. You chose to believe in your own worth more than in his excuses. And that's not just a choice, that's a victory. Walking away wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of the chapter where you finally put yourself first. Regret is one of the sneakiest emotions after a breakup. It creeps in when you're alone at night, when you see other couples together, when a song or a place reminds you of him. Suddenly you're replaying everything, thinking about what you could have done differently, wondering if you walked away too soon. That's the trap. Regret convinces you that maybe you made the wrong choice. Maybe you should have fought harder. Maybe if you had been more patient, he would have finally changed. But regret isn't the truth. Regret is your mind romanticizing the past because it feels safer than facing the pain of the present. When you look back through the lens of regret, you're not seeing reality. You're seeing a filtered version, one that highlights the best moments and blurs out the worst. You remember his smile, but you forget the nights you cried because he didn't call. You remember the dates that felt magical, but you erase the weeks where he pulled away without explanation. Regret edits the story into something it never really was. It convinces you that you lost something perfect, when what you actually lost was something inconsistent, unreliable, or unhealthy. The danger with regret is that it keeps you stuck. It doesn't allow you to heal, because instead of closing the door, you keep reopening it in your mind. Regret whispers, "What if you go back and try again?" And that's how people end up recycling pain. They return to the same person, hoping for a different ending, only to find themselves trapped in the same patterns that hurt them the first time. Regret becomes the rope that ties you to a past you were meant to outgrow. But here's the truth: if he were truly right for you, you wouldn't be questioning whether you made a mistake. Love doesn't leave you in constant doubt. Real love doesn't make you beg for attention, wonder where you stand, or feel like you're never enough. If you had to fight for scraps of his time or affection, that wasn't love, that was settling. And regret only appears when you confuse the fantasy of who he could have been with the reality of who he was. Instead of seeing regret as proof you lost something valuable, see it as a signal you're still healing. Regret is your mind trying to make sense of the loss, to fill the gap with comforting thoughts. But comfort doesn't equal truth. The truth is, your decision to walk away was an act of clarity. It came from a place deep inside that knew you deserved more. That voice, the one that told you to leave, is the same voice that will carry you forward, if you trust it more than you trust the lies of regret. The way to break free from regret is to reframe the story. Instead of asking, "What if I had stayed?" start asking, "What would have happened if I did?" Play that forward honestly. Would you still be waiting for him to commit? Still feeling anxious every time he pulled away? Still hoping he'd finally treat you the way you always wanted? That's not a love story, that's a cycle, and cycles don't end until you end them. Regret fades when you stop romanticizing the past and start investing in your future. Every time you catch yourself thinking about what could have been, remind yourself of what actually was. Remember the pain, the doubt, the disappointment. Let those memories ground you in reality, because regret can't survive in the light of truth. You don't need to regret leaving him. The only thing to regret would be staying longer in a situation that was already draining you. Walking away wasn't a mistake. It was the first step toward the life and love you actually deserve. And once you accept that, regret loses its grip, and your heart is free to move forward with no apologies and no return. Going back to someone who already showed you they can't love you properly feels comforting in the moment, but it's one of the most costly decisions you can make for your heart. When you tell yourself, "Maybe this time it will be different," you're not chasing love, you're recycling old pain. And every time you return, the wound gets deeper, the disappointment grows heavier, and the hope you cling to turns into the very chain that keeps you stuck. No return means no recycling the heartbreak you've already lived through. It means protecting your peace by refusing to relive the same lesson again and again. The truth is, patterns don't change because you miss each other. They don't change because you hope harder. They don't change because you're willing to forgive. Patterns change when a person decides to grow, and even then, growth takes time and consistent action. Most of the time, when someone shows you they can't meet your needs, it's not because they don't know how in that moment. It's because they're not ready, not willing, or not capable. And going back doesn't teach them to love you better. It teaches them that no matter how little they give, you'll always return. Think of it like rewatching a movie where you already know the ending. You might hope for a different twist this time, but the script doesn't change. The same betrayals, the same broken promises, the same cycle of highs and lows play out. You leave feeling drained, angry at yourself for falling into the same trap, and more heartbroken than before. That's the cost of recycling old pain. It steals time, it erodes your confidence, and it convinces you that maybe this is all you're worth. But you are worth so much more than reruns of a love story that was never meant to last. Saying no return isn't about being cold or unforgiving. It's about finally acknowledging that love isn't supposed to feel like a constant test of endurance. It's not supposed to leave you questioning your value, crying yourself to sleep, or trying to mold yourself into someone else just to keep the other person around. By refusing to go back, you're not shutting the door out of anger, you're shutting it out of wisdom. You're telling yourself, I don't need to repeat this pain to finally learn the lesson. I've already learned it. The hardest part is that the heart often remembers the good and forgets the bad. That's why the urge to return can feel so strong. Nostalgia makes you miss the laughter, the intimacy, the times he made you feel special. But if you dig deeper, you'll remember why you left. You'll remember the broken trust, the neglect, the confusion. Holding on to those truths keeps you from being seduced back into the cycle. No return is a form of self-love. It's drawing a boundary so firm that even when your emotions try to pull you back, your self-respect holds you steady. It's choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and growth over stagnation. Every time you stand firm in your decision not to go back, you strengthen that muscle of self-worth. You prove to yourself that you're capable of breaking free, of honoring your pain by not reopening it, of choosing your future over your past. So when the temptation arises, and it will, remind yourself that returning doesn't bring back love, it only brings back pain. Tell yourself that you deserve a love that doesn't need endless chances to get it right. No return means no more rehearsing heartbreak, no more wasted years, no more hoping someone will suddenly become who they never were. It means stepping out of the loop once and for all, and choosing a life where your heart is free to heal, grow, and eventually be met with the love it was always meant to receive. When you leave someone's life, it's easy to focus on what you think you're losing. You focus on the routines you shared, the comfort of having someone there, the familiarity of his presence. But what you often overlook is the gift his absence creates. Walking away isn't just about what you're leaving behind, it's about what you're making space for. His absence isn't an emptiness, it's an opening, and that opening is where your best life can finally begin to unfold. Think of your life as a room. If it's filled wall to wall with clutter, there's no room to bring in anything new. You can't redecorate, you can't breathe, you can't even move freely. That's what staying tied to the wrong person does. It clutters your emotional space. His mixed signals, his lack of consistency, his inability to meet your needs, all of it fills up space that could be used for something better. The moment you remove him, it might feel bare at first, but that emptiness is the very thing that allows fresh air, light, and new energy to flow in. His absence gives you room to reconnect with yourself. In relationships where you were undervalued, it's easy to shrink, to mold yourself around his moods, his needs, his availability. You lose parts of yourself in the process, not even realizing how much of your energy was being drained just to keep things afloat. When he's gone, you get to redirect that energy back into you. You get to rediscover the passions you set aside, the confidence you forgot you had, the joy of being whole without needing someone else to validate you. That space also prepares you for better love, the kind of love that doesn't make you doubt your worth, the kind of love that feels safe, consistent, and nourishing, but that kind of love can't enter a life that's already occupied by the wrong person. His absence creates the vacancy where the right person can finally step in. And sometimes the right person is not even another relationship right away. Sometimes it's you stepping fully into your own life, building a foundation so strong that when love does arrive, it complements your happiness instead of becoming the source of it. It's natural to fear the space he leaves behind. Loneliness can make you second guess your choice. You start to wonder if something is better than nothing, if his presence, even flawed, is better than his absence. But that's a lie loneliness tells you. The truth is, his absence is not a void, it's a canvas, and what you paint on it is entirely up to you. You can fill it with new experiences, deeper friendships, personal growth, and opportunities you might have missed while you were consumed by him. The most powerful realization you can have is that absence isn't loss, it's liberation. Every time you feel that emptiness, remind yourself, this is space being created for something better. This is life making room for the love, peace, and joy you truly deserve. His absence is not the end of your story. It's the clearing of the stage for the next, more beautiful act. So instead of mourning the space he no longer occupies, celebrate it, cherish it, use it, because that space is where you'll rebuild yourself stronger. That space is where your future will take shape. That space is the proof that sometimes the best gift someone can give you is their absence. And once you see it that way, you'll stop longing for what left and start getting excited for what's on its way. Closure is one of the most misunderstood ideas in relationships. People wait for it as if it's something another person hands you like a final gift before they leave. You think if he just explained why he hurt you, or admitted he was wrong, or gave you a sincere apology, you'd finally be able to move on. But here's the truth. Closure is not something he can give you, because closure isn't about him, it's about you. Waiting for him to give you closure is like waiting for the same storm that destroyed your house to come back and rebuild it. It's not going to happen, and even if it did, it wouldn't fix what you need to rebuild within yourself. When you realize closure is self-created, you reclaim your power. Instead of sitting in limbo, waiting for his words or actions to free you, you take that freedom back into your own hands. You decide that his silence is closure, his inability to love you right is closure. His inconsistency, his lack of effort, his failure to be the partner you needed, all of that is closure in itself. It tells you everything you need to know. The relationship didn't end because you weren't enough. It ended because he wasn't willing or able to meet you where you stood. That's the truth, and it's enough. The danger in seeking closure from him is that it keeps you tied to him. It keeps you checking your phone for messages, replaying conversations, and analyzing his every move. It tricks you into thinking the story is still open, when really the final chapter has already been written. Closure doesn't come from hearing his reasoning. Closure comes from you deciding the story is over regardless of whether he explains himself. When you decide that, you stop letting him control the narrative and you start writing your own. Creating your own closure means asking yourself hard but liberating questions. What did I learn from this? What patterns do I never want to repeat again? How can I honor myself more in the future? Closure isn't about getting the answers from him. It's about creating meaning for yourself. It's taking the pain and turning it into wisdom. It's saying, this hurt me, but it won't define me. This ended, but I am still whole. This relationship failed, but I will not fail myself by holding on to it. Sometimes the reason we crave closure is because we want reassurance that we mattered. But think about it. If you need someone to confirm that you were valuable, you're giving them power over your worth. The truth is, you mattered whether he acknowledges it or not. Your love, your effort, your presence, those were real. And just because he didn't honor them doesn't mean they lose value. Closure comes when you stop needing his validation to prove your significance. Self-created closure is one of the most powerful acts of self-love. It's not easy because it requires you to stop searching for answers outside of yourself and start trusting the answers within. It requires you to sit with the discomfort of unfinished conversations and accept that you may never hear what you wanted to hear. But in that acceptance lies freedom, freedom from waiting, freedom from chasing, freedom from tying your healing to someone else's capacity to give you what they never gave while you were together. So instead of waiting for him to circle back and give you closure, give it to yourself. Write the final page. Say goodbye in your own way. Decide that you deserve peace more than you deserve explanations. Because closure isn't about tying the story up neatly. It's about deciding you're ready to walk away from the story altogether. And once you do, you'll realize the closure you were waiting for was inside you all along. Freedom is not just the absence of a relationship. It's the presence of a new way of living. When you exit someone's life with no regret and no return, you give yourself a rare gift, the chance to rediscover what it means to live for yourself. Too often, relationships that aren't right for us drain us of this freedom without us even noticing. You begin to shape your choices around what he wants, what he's comfortable with, and what keeps the peace, until one day you realize you've lost pieces of yourself in the process. Walking away is not just about leaving him, it's about reclaiming the freedom to be fully, unapologetically you again. Freedom after a breakup is a clean slate. It means you don't have to keep checking your phone, waiting for replies that never come. You don't have to water yourself down to keep someone else happy. You don't have to shrink just to fit inside the small box of what he could handle. You're no longer bound by the cycle of highs and lows, of temporary promises followed by familiar disappointments. Instead, you get to wake up each day without that constant emotional weight hanging over you. That weight might have felt normal while you were with him, but once it's gone, you realize just how heavy it was. Living freely doesn't mean ignoring the pain or pretending it didn't matter. It means acknowledging the pain, but choosing not to let it dictate the rest of your story. Freedom is choosing to feel the grief, but not letting grief become your identity. It's choosing to accept the past, but not dragging it into every new chapter of your future. It's choosing to walk through the discomfort of being alone for a while, knowing that solitude is far better than being trapped in a connection that keeps breaking you down. When you commit to freedom, you also commit to growth. You open yourself up to new experiences, new people, and new versions of yourself you may have never met while you were stuck in the cycle with him. You get to take risks without worrying about how he'll react. You get to pursue dreams without having to explain or justify them to someone who never fully understood your vision. Freedom gives you back control of your time, your energy, and your choices. And once you taste that kind of autonomy, you'll never want to trade it for the false security of a relationship that wasn't serving you. The irony is that the very thing you fear when you leave the loneliness, the space, the uncertainty is the soil in which freedom grows. At first, the silence feels loud, the absence feels strange, but with time, that silence becomes peace, and that absence becomes room to create. You start to notice how good it feels to not second guess yourself, to not chase validation, to not compromise your values just to keep someone in your life. You realize that freedom is not the loss of love. It's the foundation for a love that will one day feel true and nourishing, not heavy and conditional. Living free means rewriting the story of your life with you as the main character, not as someone orbiting around another person's moods, decisions, or attention span. It means building a life so full and rich that love, when it does arrive again, adds to your world rather than becoming your whole world. Freedom allows you to stand strong in the knowledge that you don't need someone else to complete you. You are already complete. So, when you walk away, don't just see it as an ending. See it as the beginning of the freest version of your life. See it as the return of your voice, your choices, your self-worth, because the real victory is not in making him miss you or regret losing you. The real victory is in living so fully, so freely, that you never once regret leaving him. That's the kind of freedom no one can take away from you. At some point, you have to stop asking what could have been and start claiming what will be. Walking away isn't weakness, it's the ultimate declaration of strength. You're not leaving to punish him, you're leaving to protect yourself. You're not walking away with regret, because regret means you lost something worth keeping, and what you really lost was a weight that was holding you back. No regret, no return. That's not just a decision, it's a promise to yourself. A promise that you will never recycle pain, that you will never settle for half love, that you will never again wait for someone else to give you permission to move forward. You are not exiting his life quietly, you are exiting it powerfully, like a door closing on a chapter that no longer defines you. And when you do, you'll find something better waiting, peace, freedom, and the kind of love that doesn't ask you to question your worth. Because the truth is, the moment you stop looking back, the future finally has a chance to meet you, and that's the life you deserve.